What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. With the Winter Olympics starting out on Friday, February 4th, I thought today on February 3rd I would share with you an Olympic legend that competed in the Winter Olympics. And this is going to be a name that you may not recognize. And that's why I have this channel, to recognize the greatness of athletes like this. So who am I talking about? I am talking about former speed skater Sheila Young on 2 of 2. And again, if you recall, during the Summer Olympics this past year, I featured a few of these cards. But you're going to say, hey, who's this Sheila Young person? Well, I can tell you that not only was Sheila Young one of the best speed skaters in Olympic history, but she also competed in women's cycling during the summer. Now, unfortunately, the year that she was at her prime, meaning her prime years as an athlete, in 1976, Montreal did not have women's cycling as an event. So, despite being one of the best women's bicycle cyclist people of her era, she never actually competed in the Olympics, but she did win many titles in women's cycling. So, this is a two-sport athlete, a winter sport and a summer sport. So, I'm going to tell you about Sheila Young. This is going to be the only person I profile kicking off the Olympics, and she deserves an episode just for herself, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. So Young grew up outside of Detroit, Michigan, and attended high school at Denby High School. Young was a member of the Wolverine Sports Club in the Detroit metropolitan area. Their sports included cycling, long track speed skating, and short track speed skating. Both of her parents had competed in cycling and speed skating, and they encouraged the Young siblings to do the same. Sheila's brother Roger also gained fame as a cyclist, winning 7 national championships and gold at the 1975 Pan American Games. He also competed in the 1972 Summer Olympics. Young competed in the 1972 Winter Olympics in Sapporo and saw her roommates Ann Henning and Diane Hullum win Olympic gold. She herself didn't win a medal that year at the Olympics, but in 1973 she became the world sprint champion in speed skating and skated to 2 world records that year, becoming the first one to skate the 500 meter in less than 42 seconds. In 1975 she won the bronze at the World All-Around Championships. In 1976, just before the 76 Olympics, she became the first one to skate the 500 meter in less than 41 seconds. At the 1976 Winter Olympics in Innsbruck, Young won 3 medals. She won gold on the 500 meter, setting a new Olympic record, silver on the 1500 meter, and bronze on the 1000 meter. By her accomplishing these feats at the 76 Olympics, she became the first American athlete to win 3 medals at one Winter Olympics game. That same year, after the Winter Olympics, she would skate 2 more world records before retiring from speed skating. She briefly came out of retirement, participating in the World Sprint Championships in 1981, finishing 7th, and in 1982, finishing 13th in speed skating. So, that covers her speed skating career. Now, we'll go on to the cycling career. So the first thing I want to say is, this is a concurrent athlete, meaning not only was she competing in speed skating, she was also competing in cycling at the same exact time of her life. Young was the United States sprint champion 4 times in 1971, 73, 76, and 81. At the UCI Track Cycling World Championships, she won bronze in 1972 and silver in 1982, and would become sprint champion 3 times in 1973, 1976, and 1981. She retired from cycling in 1976, but resumed competing in 1981 to win 1 more United States Sprint Championship, taking the gold in the sprint at the World Championships in 1981. After winning the silver At the 1982 World Championship, she retired for good, preferring motherhood over prolonging her sports careers. So, we're going to talk about that now. And normally I don't talk about personal lives of individuals on my channel, but this one is kind of unique. Sheila wound up marrying Young-Ochowicz, who was also a cyclist. Ochowicz, her husband, competed at the same two Summer Olympics in 1972 and 76 as Sheila's brother Roger, which I mentioned earlier, but in different cycling events. So Ochowicz was a world-class athlete, and so was Sheila. Well, the two of them had a daughter, and her name is Elli Ochowicz, and she actually was a speed skater, just like her mother, who competed in the Winter Olympics in 2002, 2006, and 2010 in speed skating. So I'm assuming her daughter Elli is also retired at this point. So this is a family of speed skaters and cyclists. I mean, that's just crazy to think of all the athletes that are in this family. Well, Sheila retired, and her husband actually got on Olympic committees. Makes sense, a husband and wife that both competed in the Olympics. And I just wanted to profile Sheila because a lot of people just don't remember her. I mean, unless you're a really hardcore Winter Olympics enthusiast, you don't realize how good of an athlete that this individual was, because not only was she dominant in speed skating, but she was also dominant in women's cycling. And unfortunately, because they didn't have, in 1976, they didn't have women's cycling, Sheila may have won a gold medal, or at least medaled, in the cycling events, which would have given her the opportunity to compete in two Olympics in the same year, which is just a phenomenal feat. I mean, it has happened before. There was actually an individual in 1988 that, ironically, in the same two events as Sheila, both speed skating and cycling, actually competed in both Olympics. And her name was Christa Rothenburger. Hopefully I'm saying that right. She would compete in both track cycling and speed skating and would win medals in both of those events, and became the first person to ever do that, basically. And she would have had the chance if Montreal would have had women's cycling. So I just wanted to preview Sheila Young-Ochowicz on this channel. This is the only Winter Olympic success that I had as of recent. I sent a couple out, but I just didn't have them back in time to shoot for this video. I kind of had this planned, but I didn't. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned a little bit more about Sheila Young, because she truly is one of the greatest athletes that a lot of people just don't know. And I say this because she was an athlete in two sports. I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say that compete at the highest level of two sports. I mean, you have your Bo Jacksons and your Deion Sanders and, you know, individuals like that, but you don't hear about too many female athletes that compete in multiple sports, you know, dating back to Babe Didrikson, of course. So thank you. I hope you enjoy the Winter Olympics over the next couple weeks. I am going to share with you some more Olympic returns, but unfortunately they're going to be baseball related. As many of you remember from when the Olympics were going on, I wrote a lot of individuals with Team USA Baseball. I got a lot more back, so I thought I'd share them with you over the next couple weeks. I look forward to your comments below, and as always, happy collecting.